Yoruichi Shihouin. Yoruichi Shihouin, Shihouin Yoruichi, is the former captain of the 2nd Division of the Godai 13, as well as the former commander of the Onmitsukido. Her lieutenant was Marenishin Omida. Having abandoned her command of both positions, she works with Kisuke Urahara and Tessai Tsukabashi, based in the Urahara shop out in the human world. Yoruichi Shihouin was born the princess of the Tenshihaizaban, House of Godly Gears, the Shihouin clan, one of the 4 noble families. Yoruichi grew up at the Shihouin mansion in the Siriidii of Seoul Society with her childhood friends Kisuke Urahara and Tessai Tsukabashi. During this time, they played together daily under the Sokayaku Hill training space, which Urahara built when they were children. Later, Yoruichi became the corps commander of the executive militia of the Onmitsukido while serving as the 22nd generational head of the Shihouin clan, becoming the first woman to ever hold the position. Some time later, she would serve as commander-in-chief of the Onmitsukido, as the position is traditionally held by the heads of the Shihouin clan. She eventually rose to the position of captain of the 2nd Division of the Godai 13, further uniting the formerly separate military arms together, as this was also traditionally done by her family. Some time later, she decided to change her role in the Onmitsukido from being the corps commander of the executive militia, which is the position traditionally held by the commander-in-chief, to being the corps commander of the corrections corps. While Yoruichi was Onmitsukido commander, she took in Suifeng as a personal bodyguard. Recognizing her talent, she became a mentor and friend. She taught Suifeng most of the techniques she knew. During her time in Seoul Society, she created many techniques which involved Shuinpa, and taught some of them to Byakuya. About 110 years ago, Yoruichi recommended that Kisuke Urahara, her 3rd seat, be appointed to the recently opened position of captain of the 12th Division after the former captain, Kiryo Hikifune, was promoted. Prior to presenting Urahara with the news of the open position, Yoruichi had a sparring session with him at the Sokayaku Hill training space. Before retiring to the 2nd Division barracks, Yoruichi informed Urahara she had recommended him for the position. Suifeng confronted Yoruichi, concerned that she was overestimating Urahara's capabilities, and proceeded to explain she believed it had been a mistake to appoint him as corps commander of the detention unit. Suifeng continued by stating he was undeserving of such a position. While Yoruichi readily admitted that Urahara was not really a hard worker, she dismissed Suifeng's criticisms, playfully insinuating that her focus on him must have romantic connotations, which Suifeng denied. After spending the day following Urahara around Seoul Society taking notes, Suifeng returned to the 2nd Division barracks to show Yoruichi her evidence of Urahara's lack of competence in his position, only to find Urahara already there talking with Yoruichi. Suifeng is told Urahara would be taking the captain proficiency exam, to which she stands in disbelief. Yoruichi, confirming it, further requested Suifeng attend the exam as well. She explains that normally only captains are allowed to attend, but she had asked special permission to allow Suifeng to attend. Suifeng was at first confused about why she should attend, but Yoruichi told her there was no need to keep secrets, as she knew she was attracted to Urahara, which Suifeng again denied. Yoruichi explained she knew all about how Suifeng had been following Urahara around all day. Suifeng admitted she was following Urahara around, but stated it was to prove he was lazy, incompetent, and unworthy of Yoruichi's praise. Suifeng handed her notes to Yoruichi, who, reading them, commented on how detailed they were. When Urahara didn't deny any of the information in the report, Suifeng was shocked he would be so honest about his seemingly unprofessional actions. An unsurprised Yoruichi, stating Urahara never changes, praised Suifeng for her intelligence-gathering skills. Suifeng, happy at first, realized Yoruichi regarded the notes not as intelligence information, but rather as a love letter. Suifeng was reasonably distressed, and Yoruichi, laughing it off, told her to loosen up, as she wasn't serious. They were interrupted by the arrival of a squad member, who delivered a message that the people Urahara had been looking for had been found. Suifeng replied that if he didn't return in time, it would put a strain on the 2 ND division's reputation and Yoruichi's. Yoruichi, dismissing this, told Urahara to hurry off to his duty, and told Suifeng to help prepare for Urahara's captain's proficiency test. Yoruichi was present with the other captains awaiting the start of the ceremony. Upon Urahara's arrival to the 1st Division barracks, where he was formally introduced to the other captains, he was chastised by Yoruichi for being so reluctant. She told him he was already a captain, so he should stand tall. A day or so after Urahara took over the 12th Division, Yoruichi was told by an Onmitsukido member that Urahara had entered the detention unit property, claiming he had been given approval to go. Yoruichi couldn't recall when or even if he asked for permission or whether she granted it, but when asked if she wanted him removed, she nonchalantly told her division members not to bother and to allow him to go where he liked. When asked if she remembered the incident in question, Yoruichi plainly said no. Shihouin, becoming distressed, prepared to voice her disapproval, but Yoruichi told her to calm down, as it was Kasuke they were talking about, stating he must have had an idea of some kind. Yoruichi appeared to be on good terms with the members of the Kachiki noble clan, as she would often visit the Kachiki manor to play tag with a teenage Byakuya Kachiki. On one such occasion, she was asked to train Byakuya by his grandfather Jinrei Kachiki, the head of the Kachiki clan and the 6th division captain. Upon seeing the arrival of Yoruichi, Byakuya swung his sword at her, calling her a werkat. Yoruichi, laughing, began to playfully tease him, calling him little Byakuya. She complained about receiving such a greeting after coming all the way there to see him. Byakuya yelled at her, saying he didn't want to see the likes of her, and he would be the head of the Kachiki clan soon enough, so he had no time to waste on her. While asking if that was the case, she stole the ribbon holding his hair back. Byakuya, quickly turning, swung his sword at her, but she easily dodged it. Yoruichi, laughing at him, exclaimed that if the head of the Kachiki clan could get his hair tie stolen by a girl who was just playing, then the future of the Kachiki clan had become bleak, though this was just a ploy to entice him into another game of tag. Not to be defeated so easily, Byakuya told her not to move an inch, but before he could finish, she, telling him he couldn't catch her, used Shuinpa to begin the chase. Byakuya stated he could see she wished to incite his wrath, and he promised to make her see the error of her ways, further claiming his Shuinpa was far superior to hers. 9 years later, Yoruichi attended an emergency meeting of the captains of the Godii 13, where the captain commander was giving an intelligence report on the disappearances of the 9th Division Captain Kensei Mugiruma, Lieutenant Mashiro Kuna, and the other high-ranking members of their division, stating they had previously been sent out to investigate the disappearance of other division members, and declaring he will choose 5 captains to form an investigation team. When a very winded and frantic Urahara showed up to ask that he be allowed to go with the investigation team, as he had previously sent his lieutenant Hiyori Saragaki to the site of the disappearances, he was summarily told no by Captain Commander Yamamoto. When he protested, he was chastised by Yoruichi, who told him he was acting pathetic and that he should get a grip on himself. She further stated he sent Hiyori himself, and for him to lose his composure like that only insulted her. The captain commander continued naming the members of the investigation team, telling Yoruichi she was to stand by for further orders. The next day, Urahara and Tessai were arrested under the orders of the Central 46. It immediately became evident they had been set up by Aizen, but were given no right to defend themselves and prove their innocence. As a result, they were quickly given their sentences. For committing crimes against researching and invoking forbidden phenomenon, and deceiving and inflicting grievous injury to fellow Shinigami, Urahara was sentenced to become human and to be exiled to the human world. For using forbidden Kido techniques, Tessai was sentenced to life imprisonment in a level 3 detention area. Before either of their sentences could be executed, a masked Yoruichi, entering the building, knocked the guards unconscious and rescuing the disgraced former captains, bringing them to a secret underground area. In this secluded area, she expounded how mad she was at them for excluding her from their plan. She revealed she had brought the 8 holofied Shinigami and the prototype Jigai Urahara was working on. With that epiphany, Urahara resolved to make 10 Ryatsu-blocking Jigai to aid him and Tessai. Tessai stated his fear about Yoruichi's safety, but she calmly stated they should not worry about her, as she would escape somehow. When she left Soul Society, she left behind her titles and positions, and was thus relieved of her high status. She was succeeded as 2nd Division Captain and Commander of the Onmitsukido by her protégé, Shihouin, at a later date. Appearance: Yoruichi Shihouin is a slender and well-endowed woman of average height. She has dark skin, golden irises, and black hair. Her hair is waist-length and kept in a ponytail with chin-length bangs framing the sides of her face. Her standard attire consists of a black, backless, sleeveless undershirt, an orange overshirt with 2 white straps on each shoulder, a large beige sash around her waist, and black stretch pants with a pair of lightweight brown shoes, which allow for stealth and easy use of Shuinpa. She previously wore a beige neck warmer, which she pulled up to cover her face in order to hide her identity, but seems to have foregone its use. She occasionally wears long beige wrist and leg warmers, each secured by bands. During the Quincy Blood War, Yoruichi wears a short dress, arm warmers, and thigh-length boots. Unlike any other known Shinigami, she can transform into a small black cat for long periods of time. In this form, she has a distinctive male voice and golden eyes. 110 years ago, during her time as a captain, she wore the same sleeveless and backless Onmitsukido uniform, with long black wrist guards which Shihouin wears now, but had a black ribbon tied around her neck. She wore a long-sleeved captain's haori. Her hair was much shorter, cut in a style similar to Shihouin's current hairstyle, but without the braids. At some point prior to this, she wore the white Onmitsukido uniform of the Correction Corps. Personality. Yoruichi is intelligent and witty, holding an intimate knowledge of Seoul society and its workings, as she was the former leader of the Onmitsukido and the 2nd Division's captain. Although of noble birth, she acts differently from most other nobles, very much like Kaioshin Shiba. For instance, she instructed Shihouin to refer to her without using honorific suffixes, but reluctantly settled for being called Yoruichi-sama. On several occasions, she transforms into her human form directly in front of Ichigo just to see his reaction to seeing her naked, which she teases him about. In addition, she speaks in a dialect used by elders, such as identifying herself as washi, a term usually used by old men to define themselves with, instead of more feminine terms like wateshi, in both her human and animal forms. While it is unknown how she obtained her cat transformation, she appears to prefer spending most of her time in it. Upon showing her Shinigami form to Ichigo, she forgot to put on clothes, as she had grown used to not needing them, due to being in cat form for so long. She especially takes delight in transforming in front of people to see their shocked reaction, due to her cat form making her sound male. Her love for her cat form extends to great anger should someone harm it or insult its appearance, as seen from how upset she got after her tail was damaged. Although relatively calm and mature when a situation calls for it, Yoruichi is quite laid back and playful, often teasing or flirting with those younger than her, such as Ichigo Kurosaki at the underground hot spring, a younger and hot-headed Byakuya Kachiki, Shihouin before her time as a captain, and Kasuke Urahara, childhood friend, former underling, and fellow ex-captain. Yoruichi prefers to drink milk, which fits with her practice of transforming into a cat. Equipment. 2 of Yoruichi's unique items are accessories which grant the user the power of flight. Rukatsujo, Dragon Bone Jo, a long, beige, bone wand-like artifact, with a small, white, bird-shaped skull, and 4 protrusions, similar to finger bones, extending from the back of the skull. By channeling Ryuryoku into the wand, it produces a tentacle, which acts a harness, and a single bat-like wing manifests from the 4 bone protrusions, which acts as a one-handed hang glider. No skill or previous experience is required to use it. Tentakin, heaven-stepping adornment. It is a brown mantle, with a large drawstring closure at the collar and a large brooch displaying the Shihouin clan crest. Like the wand, the tentakin requires no skill or previous experience to use. It appears to be superior to the wand, since it allows one to hover in mid-air, and does not immobilize one of the user's hands. Ankin, dark blade, viz. Dark sword, small knives which Yoruichi hides in her boots. She can launch them at a target with a swing of her leg. Anti-arrow armor, a set of metal gloves and boots, invented by Kasuke Urahara, designed specifically to counter an Aaroncar's arrow during hand-to-hand combat. They are exceptionally durable, protecting the wearer's limbs even during the moment of their destruction. Razor wire, razor-sharp wire which Yoruichi carries on her person. She can trap an opponent in a field of it almost instantaneously, and according to her, it can harm someone as powerful as Yawatch should he try to move through it. Destructive spheres, somewhat small, light-colored spheres attached to each other by a string that Yoruichi throws at her opponent. According to her, once a sphere hits her opponent's body, a second sphere hitting that same area will destroy it. Powers and abilities. Feline transformation. Yoruichi possesses the unique ability to shape-shift into a black cat at will. How she alone, out of all Shinigami, is capable of this is currently unknown. She has possessed the ability for well over 100 years, and it is known to others she knew from that time. She apparently has no set time limit on the transformation, as she had been in this form for over 100 years. In cat form, Yoruichi can still channel her spiritual energy and move at incredible speeds, though she is physically limited. Her transformation grants her a complete disguise, as her voice in this form is deep enough to lead most to assume she is a male. Shunpa Master. Considered to be the most proficient Ho-Ho master ever in all of Seoul society, Yoruichi is immensely skilled in the use of Shunpa. Yoruichi holds the title, Flash Goddess, Shunshin, viz. Flash Master, because she has mastered this ability to the point where she can appear to be in several places at once and wipe out an entire Onmitsukido squadron in seconds. She can easily close tremendous gaps of distance in the blink of an eye while remaining undetected, and can surprise Byakuya, who is one of the most proficient masters in the art as well. She has mastered all of the Onmitsukido's speed-oriented techniques, and has even created some of her own, such as Utsusimi, Cicada, referencing their molting. The full extent of her abilities remain unclear, but she was able to outrun Byakuya while carrying an unconscious Ichigo over her shoulder, performing around 300 steps before feeling tired from being 100 years out of practice. Suifone was able to strike Yoruichi multiple times, but was unable to hit her in the same spot twice with her Zanpakuto. She can still perform Shuinpa while in her cat form, however, she is not as fast as she is in her true form. Utsusimi, cast off Cicada Shell Way of Onmitsu, third of the Shiho. It allows for movement at great speed, leaving at least one tangible afterimage behind. Byakuya Kuchiki states Yoruichi taught it to him. Hakuda Master, as former commander-in-chief of the Onmitsukido, Yoruichi is one of the most accomplished hand-to-hand combatants in Soul Society. Her mastery of the art form is so great that she uses it exclusively as her form of combat, foregoing the use of a Zanpakuto altogether. She took down nearly 50 Onmitsukido members with only Hakuda. She has taken on Espada-level Arankar, such as when she brutally defeated Yami, and is regarded by the 4th Espada Ulquiorra cipher as highly dangerous. She fought 3 Shinigami captains and 4 lieutenant-level and above opponents at the same time with Hakuda without receiving any notable damage. Takenbo, Bamboo Dragonfly, a Hakuda technique which involves a simple, yet effective, throw which suddenly and violently flips an opponent upside down. Ryokan, Thunder King Fist, a Hakuda technique involving a series of ultra-high-speed punches delivered using both arms. When performing this technique while wearing anti-aero armor, Yoruichi severely cracked Aizen's first form, destroying the surrounding portion of Karakura town in the process. Shunko, Lightning, Flash War Cry, an advanced technique which combines Hakuda with Kido. This technique surrounds her back and arms with pressurized Kido based on the element of lightning. The Kaioshin uniform has no back or sleeves because they will rip apart when it is activated. Apart from enhancing her arms and legs for combat, the technique allows her to instantly neutralize an opponent's movement. The Kido itself can be controlled and fired at opponents from her body, which creates massive explosions. Yoruichi's version of the technique was developed and studied by her a century ago, therefore, the technique is complete and the compressed Kido is visible. While using this technique, her Ryatsu takes the form of white lightning. Her skill and control in its usage has progressed to the point of activation taking the form of a pair of lightning wings generated from her back. Shunko, Raijin Senkei, Flash War Cry, Thunder God Battle form. The lightning emitted from Yoruichi's back creates a circle of electrical energy in the shape of Raijin's drums behind her as Yoruichi unleashes a giant column of concentrated electrical energy to engulf her opponent. Shunko, Reiju Senkei, Shunryu Kikubyo Senki, Flash War Cry, Thunder Beast Battle form, Flash God Black Cat Warrior Princess. While Shunko, Raijin Senkei is already activated, Yoruichi can transform her mind and body even further. This transformation can be activated by Kasuke Urahara remotely even against her will. Upon release, a huge column of electrical energy is released. When the energy disappears, Yoruichi has taken on the form of a hybrid of Shunko and her feline form. Her feet become clawed cat paws. This form clads her arms and legs in electricity, covering her forearms past the elbow and her legs up to her thighs, each ending with claws made of electrical energy. The energy forms her hair into the form of cat ears and she grows a tail. This form sheathes her in an aura of electrical energy. This form gives her the mentality of a cat and allows the cat nature of fickleness to manifest in her Ryatsu. While Yoruichi is naturally moody, she is even more so in this form. Her Ryatsu is directly responsive to her changes in mood, and therefore becomes reliably unstable by changing 48 times per second. Kasuke Urahara is the only one who can control her in this form. Kido Expert, as former captain of the 2nd Division and the commander-in-chief of the Onmitsukido, Yoruichi is well versed in Kido. Though she commonly employs Shuinpa and hand-to-hand fighting techniques, she is highly skilled in using Kido to further her capacity in combat, often mixing it with other fighting techniques. She has used mid to high-level binding and destruction spells with no incantation with expert skill. After Mimihagi stabilized the bifurcated Soul King, Yoruichi set up a protective barrier using several seals and drawn lines similar to the ones used in Tentikura, displaying an advanced knowledge of protective Kido spells. Her skill is great enough to effortlessly learn new variations of Kido with only simple instructions, such as activating Kakaku Shiba's Ryushukaku Cannonball Orbs. Kaido, Turnway. Yoruichi also has a degree of proficiency in healing Kido. Hanki, Reverse Demon. This technique is used by Yoruichi during Shunko. It nullifies an opponent's Kido by hitting it with a Kido of perfectly opposite speed and energy. The technique can neutralize an opponent's movements. Expert Swordsman, while preferring to fight her opponents bare-handed. During her days as a captain, Yoruichi showed herself to be a highly capable swordswoman, taking down a huge hollow with a single strike of her sealed Zanpakuto. Master Assassin. As the former commander-in-chief of the Onmitsukido, Yoruichi is one of the foremost masters of the art of assassination. She has repeatedly shown impressive skill in staying hidden and unseen. When necessary, she can effectively exploit having an advantage against an opponent or hiding her presence. Even Aizen was taken completely by surprise, and just as easily subdued. Master Strategist. As the former head of her clan and ex-commander of the Onmitsukido, Yoruichi is a capable leader. She has repeatedly proven to be insightful and crafty, capable of quickly understanding any situation that presents itself and adjusting to it effectively. Upon learning Ichigo would go to save Rukia no matter what, Yoruichi began making preparations of her own by training Orihime and Chad. Immense spiritual power. As a former captain and head of a noble clan, Yoruichi boasts a tremendous amount of spiritual power. During Ichigo's Bankai training, she kept the Tenshintai active for an extended period of time with her Ryuryoku. The reputation of her power is enough to make 4th Espada Ulquiorra Cypher wary to engage in combat with her, even with the help of 0 Espada Yami Largo. Her spiritual energy and control of it is great enough to act as a shield from fairly powerful attacks, as seen from blocking Jean Korea's lightning blast with a single hand. While using Shunko, her concentrated spiritual power becomes far greater than normal. Her Ryatsu is red. Enhanced strength. Despite her slender appearance, Yoruichi is extremely strong in her Shinigami form. She could still easily use Shuinpa while carrying around an unconscious Ichigo to outrun a fellow Shuinpa master. She easily caught a direct punch from Yami Largo, and simultaneously threw him several feet away. She easily injured him, despite his thick arrow, with various unarmed moves, but is injured by his arrow. Though she admits she wasn't expecting his skin to be that hard, she states she could have avoided taking any damage if she had Shunko activated. A concentrated blow from Yoruichi can destroy an entire city block. Enhanced endurance. Despite her own admission of being out of shape, Yoruichi is a very resilient warrior. Both when out of breath from prolonged running against Byakuya and sustaining fractures from Yemi's arrow, Yoruichi was still able to fight effectively while showing no signs of weakening. Even when her arms started to twist rapidly due to Pranita Parnkyaza's the compulsory, Yoruichi didn't show any signs of being in pain and was more wondering the nature of the power. Likewise, Yoruichi showed a resistance to a skin Nakluvar's the death-dealing, able to survive exposure to lethal doses of several substances and retain consciousness, impressing a skin. Zanpakuto. As a former captain of the Gotei 13, it is known that Yoruichi possesses a Zanpakuto and has achieved Bankai, but she relies nearly exclusively on Hoho and Hakuda. Although she doesn't carry it at all in the current time, she wore it in the past. It resembles a Kodachi or Wakizashi which she kept sheathed horizontally behind her on her lower back, similar to how Suifeng carries hers in the present day. Shirkai, not revealed. Bankai, not revealed.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.